In the last 10 years, New York has gone from 2 observation decks to 5. Since 2015, we've seen 1 World Trade Center, 1 Vanderbilt, and 30 Hudson Yards, all open with an observation deck plonked on the top of it.
And it's not just the Big Apple. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai opened in 2010 and is the world's tallest building, and has the 2nd highest observation deck in the world. The Shard in London opened in 2013 and will take you 72 floors up. Seoul Sky in the Lot World Tower in South Korea opened in 2015 with an open-air sky bridge 121 floors up.
So why now? And why do they seem to be getting crazier and crazier?
So I visited every New York observation deck, looked into the history, spoke to experts, and found a moment in 2013 that changed everything.
And it shocks people.
And the observation deck boom that followed was unlike anything before.
View of Boston.
I'm getting VIP access here. Okay, this is very cool. The views are crazy. It's showing Manhattan evolving. Okay, that is cool. These are cool to look through.
So I started researching. What was the first real modern observation deck? Where was it? What was the point of it? Did people even go to it? And why did they build it in the first place? Look, I know this is crazy, but we have to start here. Say it with me. Evolutionary psychology. Turns out the need for a view is instinctual. Humans evolved to seek vantage points that allowed us to identify food, water, and approaching danger, all important factors for survival. It's one theory as to why we evolved to walk on 2 legs. And as human history unfolded, we built taller and taller structures that gave us this sense of safety.
The World's Fair in 1889 tapped into this evolutionary psychology with the unveiling of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Now, the Eiffel Tower was only meant to stand for 20 years, but people loved going all the way to the top with their baguettes. So popularity kept it around. Steel, reinforced concrete, and elevators spawned a tall building boom in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and Manhattan was the epicenter. Tall buildings allowed developers to maximize land value, but soon it became obvious they could offer something else. In 1912, the Woolworth Building, aka the Cathedral of Commerce, debuted New York's first real observation deck. For 50 cents, you could take a ride up to the 58th floor outdoor terrace. And look, in our era, looking down on a big city is kinda common with air travel, helicopter tours, and hell, Google, but 58 floors up in 1912 must have been mind-blowing. Whoa. Oh my God, everyone looks like ants from up here. Frank Woolworth said, "The thrilling sensation which comes over the sightseer that is never to be forgotten. It is indeed the most remarkable, if not the most wonderful view in all the world." For almost 2 decades, the Woolworth Building was the highest point in the city, and it had an estimated 300,000 visitors per year, $150,000 per year based on those estimations, equivalent to roughly $4.5 million today. Then the trend moves to Midtown, with the Chrysler Building in 1930. For 50 cents, you could visit the Celestial on the 71st floor. But unfortunately for the Chrysler Building, a new neighbor quickly stole the limelight. In 1931, just 1 year and 45 days after construction began, the world's first 100-plus story building was finished, the Empire State Building. And right below the spire was the world's highest observation deck. It was massive and offered unrivaled views from Midtown. Still, only a few more observation decks appeared on the New York skyline over the next 40 years. Top of the Rock at 30 Rockefeller in 1933, and Top of the World observation deck at the original World Trade Center in 1975. And look, I know, this is all in New York. Of course, other cities, domestic and abroad, had skyscrapers, but New York was the epicenter of skyscrapers with observation decks. So leave me alone about it. I'm walking here. In the early 2000s, social media makes its way into society, and we've never been the same since. So, what's one of the first things you want to do when you touch down in a new city? Post a sick picture to make all of your followers jealous. Easiest way to do that in a city? Go to the top of one of the tallest buildings and take a selfie. So a decades-long rise in tourism paired with the rise of social media led to an increase in popularity for observation decks. But then, in 2013, something was revealed that changed everything. It turns out the Empire State Building is not just an office building. It's an asset owned by a company called the Empire State Realty Trust, and it filed for IPO in 2013. And with any IPO filing comes the disclosure of financial information. And boy, did they disclose. A 529-page prospectus gets sent around to various partners in the building, and it shocks people. The most eye-popping thing, and it's still difficult for me to wrap my head around this, in 2010, the 2 million plus square feet of office space in arguably the most famous building in the world made little to no money. And the observation deck? It generated $60 million in profits. And it turns out the observation deck has always been a critical part of the building's business plan. We're going up to the 80th floor, I believe, right now in the elevator. When the building opened in 1931, it was actually dubbed the Empty State Building because it was right at the start of the Depression and they struggled to fill the office space. And a bit of luck comes into play when just a couple of years later, King Kong debuts, and it puts the building front and center in what was to become a pillar of American cinema.
How about the top of the Empire State Building?
And immediately after that, the building becomes a national icon, and celebrities and political leaders start flocking to the building along with millions of tourists. By 1938, the building was bringing in $1 million a year from the observation deck, and it provided an economic safety net for the building as it continued to fill the office space. So it turns out they've had the secret for 93 years. Not only is the observation deck a huge revenue generator, it's crucial to the building's bottom line. Just look at One World Trade Center. Based on the SEC filings of the Empire State Building, the building developers at One World Trade believe that the building could be bringing in $53 million by 2019. And just like the Empire State Building, One World Trade struggled to fill their office space right when they opened. So now the secret is out. Building developers can hedge their commercial real estate bets with an amazing observation deck at the top of their new skyscrapers. So as new developments start popping up across the city, like 30 Hudson Yards and 1 Vanderbilt, along with them came a shiny new observation deck. Almost like putting retail at the street level, now you can do a version of that at the top. And now we're in the midst of an observation deck amenity war. 55 million tourists a year come to New York, and each one of these observation decks is fighting for their attention. Let's say just 15 million of those tourists want to visit an observation deck. That's a potential $675 million of profits that each observation deck wants a piece of. And it's not just the views that the various decks are using to attract customers, it's everything else. At this point, the view is just one part of the experience. I'm getting VIP access here. Every deck is now offering VIP tickets with express elevators to skip lines, food and beverage at the top. So you can grab like a hot chocolate or a coffee as you're going up, and it would definitely help today because it is freezing today. An immersive experience, an art installation, like straight out of the future. And some are even offering theme park style experiences like the Beam at the top of the rock, where you can recreate this iconic photo. Or City Climb at Edge NYC, where you can scale the outside of the building and hang over the edge. Even the Eiffel Tower installed a glass floor in 2014. The Empire State Building even offers the Happily Ever Empire package, where you can have a private section of the observation deck to propose to your loved one for $1,000. And heads up that your photographer and any family members are additional tickets that you need to pay for. The observation deck at the Willis Tower in Chicago has The Ledge, where visitors can stand on an all-glass balcony that extends 4 feet out from the building's edge. John Hancock Center, also in Chicago, has floor-to-ceiling windows that slowly tilt you out over the edge of the building. More observation decks means more competition, and the prices definitely seem to be reflecting that. General admission at most of the New York observation decks is anywhere between $40 and $55. And some even have peak and off-peak pricing, like during sunset and on the weekends, because every dollar counts. And there are plenty of upsells, like VIP tickets to skip lines, food and beverage, merch, and experiences like the Beam. And more are coming, both in New York and abroad.
The funniest thing about this building is it's going to have an observation deck at the top. And I'm not sure what you're supposed to look out on Oklahoma City, no offense.
The Chrysler Building, for example, has proposed plans to bring back their observation deck. Even the Empire State Building spent $165 million to renovate their observation deck, adding a new entrance, new exhibits, giant King Kong hands that appear to be punching through the windows. A new hotel on 8th Avenue plans to open in 2027 with an observation deck and a free drop-style theme park ride at the top. Saudi Arabia is in the midst of construction on their Jeddah Tower, which plans to be the world's tallest building with the world's tallest observation deck, meant to be the centerpiece of Jeddah Economic City. At this point, a lot of these buildings are landmarks for the city that they're in. And if you look up a list of things to do in most major cities, odds are there'll be 1 or 2 observation decks on it. And without this massive document, who's to say if you'd ever have the chance to go up to the top and post a picture that will make all your followers jealous?